2 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 4 says, "For the weapons we fight with are not fleshly, but mighty in Elohim for overthrowing strongholds." Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-minute toward day 2 of Balaq, or Destroyer. Let's go back to Numbers or Bamidbar chapter 22. And again today, let's read verse 4 that says, "And Moab said to the elders of Midian, Now this company is licking up all that is around us as an ox licks up the grass of the field." From that verse, Rashi, the ancient Jewish Torah commentator, he makes this point. He says that Israel's strength is only through its mouth. That is what Balaq determined. That was his thinking. In other words, Balaq realized that, as he references an ox licking up grass, that the power of Israel is their mouth. And it's not that they're talking trash, but rather it is their prayer life. That prayer is the most vital element of their arsenal. I think our adversary, Hasatan, the powers of darkness, as they are situated throughout the earth, they also recognize that it is when Yah's people sincerely and correctly focus themselves in prayer. And let me give you again, one more time, my understanding and definition of what prayer really is. It is our invitation to Yah for his involvement and his investment of his power and ability into whatever our situation is. So if we're crying out for healing, we're inviting him, come invest and involve yourself in this need of healing. Praying for family members and their salvation, especially our children. Oh, Yah, I invite you to come and be a part of our family and to invest your power and your ability to become involved in the daily living of our family members, that they might know you and choose to follow after you. That's prayer. Well, why doesn't Yah just go ahead and do what it is that he wants to do? Because he waits for our invitation. He encourages us to pray to him and to ask. The question is then, do we know what our adversaries know? If our adversaries know that prayer is the key, prayer is what actually moves and shakes things in the earth. It doesn't mean that we just pray and then sat back and fold our arms and said, well, I prayed, let's see what happens. When you pray, you have to be willing to become an agent of your prayer's answer. Say that again. If you're praying for something, you need to be available to be a part of the answer. Yah may say to you, okay, in order for your prayer to be answered, this is what I need you to do. If we're willing to be obedient, then the prayer can be answered. So what do our adversaries know? They know that when Yah's people pray, things change, stuff happens. Over in the book of Mark, chapter number 1, it says in verse 23 and following, "And there was a man in their congregation with an unclean spirit, and he cried out." Now, how long had he been in that congregation? And was just dormant, the unclean spirit with him, but was never challenged. Saying, what are we to do with you, Yeshua of Nazareth? Did you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the set-apart one of Elohim. He was calling him the Messiah. He is the son of Yah ben Adam, if you will. And Yeshua rebuked him, saying, "Be silenced and come out of him." And throwing him in convulsions, the unclean spirit called out with a loud voice and came out of him. And they were all so amazed as to reason among themselves, saying, "What is this? A fresh teaching? With authority he commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." If you go over to the next page, perhaps on verse 34, "And he, Yeshua, healed many who were sick with various diseases and cast out many demons, and was not allowing the demons to speak because they knew him." Do we know what our adversary knows? So, the people in the land, those who are currently occupying the inheritance of Israel, they rule and they fight by intimidation. These are a fierce, warlike people. They have a large standing army, military prowess. They have successful weapons, and they also they have this ability of intimidating their adversaries because of their mutant stature. Many of them were giants. They also worshipped a variety of idols and deities and had shrines, and so they were consistently invoking the demonic power source of the myths and legends of these idols, inviting that demonic power and ability to fill them with an ability to be successful on their battlefields. Well, what about Israel? What was their power? Well, as I said, it was prayer, but it was more than that. That was not the only arrow in their quiver. They also had a promise, an ancient covenant promise given to an old man out in the valleys of Israel, the plains of Israel, as he was keeping his flocks, Abraham. Yah visited him in Genesis 15 and gave him a promise that his descendants would be in slavery for 400 years, but that he would bring them out when the time of the sins of the Amorites was full, such as this time. And the promise was, I'm going to give you this land from the river of Egypt, the Nile, all the way to the Euphrates, from the river to the river. So when you hear the slogan, from the river to the sea, speaking of the river of Jordan to the sea, Mediterranean Sea, your response is, no, it's from the river to the river, and it belongs to Israel. Yah made this promise. It wasn't just so much the words, it was the promise giver who has the power not only to promise, but also to perform what he promised, Romans 4 says. Further, they had this gold box. That is, that in the center of their tabernacle, in the center of their worship focus, there was this gold box. And it had a lid on it with two cherubim facing one another. And inside were tablets that had Yah's recorded words on them. And this glory, aura, and cloud emanated from over that and was pillared above the tabernacle. So they had this gold box. And it was an amazing power associated with this gold box, the Ark of the Covenant. And one more thing that they had a power stick. Moshe, their prophet, had this rod that when he held it out over a sea, it would split from side to side. This stick, when it was put on, had the name of Aaron, his brother, carved on it and put in the tabernacle. It budded overnight, and it also bore almonds. It was an amazing rod of authority. When Moshe held up his hands with that rod in it, his armies always prevailed. So Israel's ability was prayer, a promise, a box, and a stick. And it worked. You and I may not have this stick available to us, but what we do have is the blood of Yeshua that can redeem and change a man's innermost being. We have the name of the Father and of the Son, through which the name brings healing and deliverance. We have victory and hope beyond death, so we do not fear it. Our Messiah raises up and overthrows governments as he will, and he has given us truth. we're well equipped. We can win this fight. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, shalom.